Dear Mayors, Director Generals, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to European Viable Cities Day here in Stockholm. My name is Per Granqvist, I'm part of the Viable Cities team, and it is my pleasure to guide you through this event. I'll also welcome everyone here who's watching the live stream at home or at your desk. This is the 8th consecutive year that we celebrate the European Viable Cities Day, a collaboration between the European Commission and Viable Cities, a Swedish publicly funded platform for climate-neutral cities. We all share the same mission, achieving climate neutrality by 2030, with a good life for all within planetary boundaries. The mission is the same on a local, national, and on the European level. Climate city contracts are an important tool for this, and we will discuss that important later. We will always witness 48 Swedish cities and forerunners sign commitments to the mission later today. Before we start, I shall inform you that in the unlikely event of a fire, the emergency exits are located in the back and also in the entrance where you entered to the building. Please follow the green signs, and in such case, we will assemble at the Odenplan. We will start our today's event and by formal welcoming speeches from our hosts at the European Commission and Viable Cities. So I'm going to hand over to Annika Weppling-Kosikniak, Head of the European Commission's representation in Sweden, and Anders Wijkman, Chairman of the Board of Viable Cities.
Thank you, Per, and warmly welcome also from the European Commission's representation in Sweden to this. I think it's actually the 7th. You said the 8th, but I think it's the 7th time we meet here, but I might be wrong. Who is counting? Still, same procedure as last year. We're really, really happy to see you all here, and it's such a great possibility to hear and to feel the dynamics of the local authorities and who's really involved in this. And we had a lunch here just before with some different representatives, and what really I took with me was that even though we are in a difficult global situation, geopolitical situation, also sometimes a bit wobbly when it comes to climate commitments. We don't see that when it comes to the local authorities. We see that it's still strong and it's still very, very committed, and that you also have most of the population with you, which I think this is really the key to success that we hope to continue to see. And there will be new climate city contracts signed today, which is also I'm very happy to see that they will take place. And this conference today is very timely. We still have the COP30 fresh in mind, for good and for bad, but still, I mean, it did happen, and there were discussions taking place, and the cities were involved. And also this Wednesday, the Commission adopted an EU agenda for cities. You will hear much more about that from my colleague from the Commission, who will speak to you soon. But it is important that this agenda came now. It's also highlighting and boosting the potential of the cities. As you are very well aware, more than 75% of the EU population actually live in cities, and that's where we have a lot of the potential for innovation, for competitiveness, but also for what now is becoming more and more prominent, for preparedness, for civil defense, etc. So we see this shift also towards those kind of aspects when we talk about cities. But of course, the cities also face significant challenges in everything from housing costs, energy costs, security, segregation, and not the least climate impacts, of course. And the EU agenda for cities will have as an aim to streamline the existing funding and support mechanisms that we have for urban areas, that ensure also that it goes hopefully into the next programming period of the multi-annual financial frameworks of the EU. And also, of course, to continue to harvest and to foster this engagement of local actors. because as you know, we go into a new programming period and there is a lot of uncertainty about this, but it is important that the views of the local authorities are strongly in the center of the discussions. Yes, dialogue, simplification, investments. Yeah, I think those are the keywords from the EU Agenda for Cities, but they will also be very much the keywords of what we will hear today, what you're going to discuss. So I look very much forward to this discussion and once again, warmly welcome. And I will hand over to Anders.
Thank you very much, and very welcome first of all to our international friends from the European Commission, from the European Parliament, but also from some member states, in particular from Spain. We are very, very happy about the cooperation we have at the European level. We can learn from each other, and we can also use good practices in one part of Europe, replicate and scale it up in other parts of Europe, and that is ongoing all the time. I'm also very happy to welcome mayors and representatives from almost 50 of our cities. We've had a meeting this morning, and I think we are united in one very strong belief, and that is that the role of cities in terms of transformation of our economies and our societies is crucially important. And we are working together and deepening that cooperation. Much of what we are doing has been the result of inspiring and important initiatives at the European level. And if I would have to single out one particular policy measure, it was of course the Green Deal, which was launched in 2019. And I think most of us who are dedicated and committed to sustainable development, we were extremely happy for that initiative. And quite a lot has been achieved. But the problem to me today is that there are question marks about the future, because there is some kind of a backlash and a lot of criticism over the last couple of months. And we're also seeing that decision making is being postponed, delayed, or even watered down. I think we have to recall that Europe is a continent which is very much affected already by climate change. We have a vulnerable population and a vulnerable landscape. And Southern Europe is already suffering enormously from heat waves, from droughts, from flooding, and food production may be at risk in the future. And I also think we have to recall that the biosphere is our life support system. Without a healthy environment, we don't have a healthy economy. Most people, I don't think, understand that fully. And unfortunately, conventional economists have not given that message very often. But it's a fact of life. And we have to take the serious reports about nature degradation, about biodiversity loss, about water stress, not least over the last couple of months in Europe, and of course, a warming climate. We have to take them very seriously. And as European citizens, we have to assume responsibility, both for the short term and the long term. So I think it's very, very important that we keep on working and that we realize that the Green Deal has as its main objective not only to reduce emissions and to lessen the pressure on nature, but also to bring about a better life, more clean and healthy economies, more clean and healthy cities, better air, better quality of soil and water. And all that is so important. And I think our work is to continue the implementation of our policies. But I think we have to widen our dialogue and communication with our population. To, on the one hand, tell them the risk of inaction, what we face then, but also the many benefits of the right type of action. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is all very exciting, so exciting that I called 7, 8, and I also spilled water over my table. So I'll just try to... I have a different mitigation problem I just need to adapt to here. Det är absolut livsfarligt. Alltså. Elegant as always. Every year we ask our cities and to send us video postcard with a quick update on their work to accelerating the climate action. And we will see today postcards from Karlstad, Enköping and Helsingborg. And we will start with the city of Karlstad, who sent us this greeting.
För mig är det självklart att Karlstad ska bidra med sin del för att nå de internationellt och nationellt uppsatta miljömålen. För mig handlar det om en solidaritet med kommande generationer. Att vi ska lämna över en värld till våra barn och barnbarn där de också kan leva ett gott liv. Energi- och drivmedelsförsörjningen, det är en avgörande fråga för framtiden. Och här har ju både Sverige och Karlstad satsat mycket på fjärrvärme och kraftvärme. Och det är ju bra för att minska vår sårbarhet när det gäller importerade bränslen. Nu behöver vi ta nästa steg och då handlar det om lokala förnyelsebara bränslen. Att se till att vi har energilagring och vätgas som backup. Ett sätt att få mer lokalproducerad mat i våra skolor, det är att förändra upphandlingsprocesserna. Det gör vi så att fler tycker att det är enklare att lämna anbud. Men vi skapar också möjligheter för många små att lämna anbud. Det skapar lönsamhet för våra bönder och det minskar också matsvinnet. Klimatsmart och smart för plånboken, men också smart för robustheten när det gäller livsmedelsförsörjningen. Man kan återbruka tegel. Det gjorde vi nyligen på en av våra skolbyggnader. Jag står nu vid Sola byggåterbruk. Där kan kommunens verksamheter men också näringslivet lämna in spillmaterial från byggen. Så kan det komma till användning på andra ställen. Vi brukar säga att i Karlstad ska vi vara Sverige bäst på hållbar konsumtion. Alltså cirkulär ekonomi. Vi vill att man ska tänka efter en gång innan man köper nytt. Finns det gamla saker där man kanske skulle kunna reparera eller laga? För att göra enklare för Karlstadborna så har vi ett arbete med smarta kartan. Där vi pekar ut reparationsställen, ställen där man helt enkelt kan köpa gammalt som nytt. Här står jag med Eva-Lisa Holtz, även känd som Sola i Karlstad. Och hon var ju vida känd för sitt gästvänliga sätt. Men hon var också en sann entreprenör. Och jag tänker att det skadar inte med lite kreativitet för att vi ska bli mer klimatsmarta. Jag tycker också att en av våra viktigaste uppgifter, det är att skapa framtidshopp för unga. Och för att göra det, då krävs det leverans när det gäller klimatfrågorna. Och då får vi också trovärdighet i vårt arbete.
That is what it looked like when a mayor firmly takes the wheel in steering her city towards climate neutrality in a very hands-on way. And there's many of those in here. New strategies, regulation and innovative governance models constantly shape the pathway to climate neutrality in cities. This segment we now are entering, it will explore the key shifts happening on the European as well as a national level, examining how these changes create both challenges and disruptive opportunities for cities to accelerate the transition from ambition to large-scale implementation. Here to talk about it are three distinguished leaders in the field, Olga Kordas, Marcos Rossemper and Philippe Froissart. Please join me in welcoming them on stage. So let me start with the introductions. Marcus Rossempre is a member of the European Parliament and is co-leading the European Urban Forum. And with an academic background in architecture and urban planning, he's the initiator and coordinator of the new European Bauhaus Friendship Group in the European Parliament. And he has constantly championed a transition that is both ambitious and socially just. As the Program Director of Viable Cities and as an Associate Professor at the KTH Royal Institute of Technology, Olga Kordas is the driving force behind the mission for Climate Neutral Cities 2030. This initiative focusing on achieving a good life rule within planetary boundaries. He also pioneered the dynamic climate city contract model in Sweden, a unique form of multi-level governance that is now inspiring international efforts. And most recently, Ms. Kordas was appointed to the Government and National Climate Inquiry Group in Sweden. And finally, I'd like to introduce a leading voice from the heart of European policy making. We are honored to be joined by Philippe Poissard, who brings the crucial perspective on the implementation of EU's ambitious goals. He's been closely involved in the European Commission cities missions for many years, and he has a deep understanding of the challenges and the mechanism for accelerating change at the continental level. And his expertise lies in translating high-level policy into tangible support for cities, helping navigate a complex regulatory and funding landscape. And we asked each of our guests to reflect on the changing policy landscape for climate action in cities. And I'd like to start by inviting you, Olga, to the podium. And the question we posed to Olga is about the single most critical shift you observe in the policy landscape today that will accelerate climate action in cities.
In Sweden, we are saying sometimes that you cannot change the wind, but you can set your sails. And then many cities and more cities in Sweden, in Europe, and globally are setting their sails for climate transition. And then the policies, they must help cities to catch the wind. So if I reflect on the kind of need for policy work, this is about the need in a more holistic approach to policies. And on one side, it's about making climate transition inclusive and just. And on another side, so we need to have policy instruments in order to translate high ambitions that all our cities have to implementation. And then to do that, we need both, like instruments, so how can we bridge the polarization around this question, but also how do we create financial instruments that could not only, and like very importantly, could still fund research innovation, creating new innovative solutions, but also large-scale implementation on the ground. So I'm very happy also to see that cities, we have more and more arenas where cities are learning from each other. And also that Sweden this year joined CHAMP. And CHAMP is Coalition of High Ambitions, Multi-Level Partnerships. So we are very proud to get a task from the government to coordinate the Swedish effort. And also it's very timely because also European Commission joined or endorsed CHAMP this year. And within the CHAMP, during the COP30, we introduced the concept, the work that we are doing at Viable Cities, which is about viability fund. So we want to create a global fund that would fund large-scale systems demonstration about systemic solutions that support cities in Sweden, in Europe, and worldwide to accelerate climate transition. So today, it's a very important day when 48 municipalities and mayors for this municipality and 6 governmental agencies and Viable Cities will sign Climate City contract for the 5th time. So for us, Climate City contract is not only a paper, but also it's a process and it's innovation. So for the first time, we are signing, so cities are signing joint common commitments. So cities would together work on very crucial and central action points, not one city by itself, but many cities would work on the governance, on the finances for climate transition, on the questions about carbon capture and storage, and other very crucial citizen engagement, other very crucial challenges that we need to solve in order to enable climate transition. And this is because we in Viable Cities, we believe in the power of many cities, power of many national agencies, companies, civil society organizations working together in order to enable this kind of shift from focusing on high ambitions, focusing on creating the pathway to implementation of the climate transition in the ground.
Next, we ask Mr. Rospera to reflect on the newly unveiled EU agenda for cities and how he sees this will influence the EU city mission and the acceleration of climate transition in cities going forward. Please join me at the podium.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to this Viable Cities Days. Thank you, Olga, Anders, and also Albert. Also, I don't see, I see you now. This session comes in a very timely moment in which just 3 days ago, the European Commission presented the EU agenda for cities. This, I always said this since I started this new term in the Parliament, 2024-2029, that this will be the term of the cities. This is the reason that why we created the European Urban Forum at the European Parliament, in which we are putting all together stakeholders, policymakers, mayors, everyone who want to talk about the problems that cities have, the challenges that cities have, and the new visions for the cities. Because till now, in the Parliament, we didn't have a forum, we didn't have a special committee to debate about cities themselves. So I think it's a very timely moment. Among this time, all the initiatives related to cities, we can highlight that 70% of the legislation coming from the European Commission, the European Parliament and the Council affect directly to cities and has to be deployed by cities. Cities are tackling now very important challenges like housing, poverty, energy transition, all of these social, climatic, digital transition are very important, but they are not directly addressed in the European policies like cities itself. They receive policies, they receive multiple funding from cohesion policy, from Horizon Europe, from different sources, but there is not a coordination for cities. So now is the time has begun with this presentation of the European Agenda for Cities. As we said yesterday, 2 days ago to the Commissioner, to Executive Vice President Mr. Fito, there won't be agenda for cities if there is no enough budget and there is no enough coordination, policy coordination. These are the 2 key points that on our point from the European Parliament, we think that they are crucial. We need to engage the next MFF with enough and a strong budget for cities, not only NRPPs, but also competitiveness funding, Horizon Europe on the new version of Horizon Europe. All of these funds has to contribute to the challenges that cities have. And also coordination. One of the, when I say coordination, I am also referring to governance, how cities are going to be present in the decisions and in the implementations of the decisions. Because cities are not only receptors of money, they have to be, you have to be, since the very beginning. So we share the 3 main principles of the new agenda for cities that was presented 3 days ago: dialogue, simplification, and funding. But we don't see specific funding on the proposal on MFF. And what is the role now of the European Parliament? The role of the European Parliament now is to improve the MFF proposal in the way of incorporating cities in the decision process, in the governance, and into receiving more indirect funding for the challenges that you have, especially in the climate transition, but also in the digital transition, the social transition, incorporating the principles of the new European Bauhaus. Because at the end of the day, viable cities are new European Bauhaus cities. Thank you very much.
And finally, we asked Mr. Froissart to give us the perspective of the European Commission, giving the changing policy landscape for cities and the role of national platform for the cities mission in the climate transition going forward. That's what we want to hear more about. Please join me at the podium.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of this event for giving me the opportunity to say a few words about the cities mission. Incidentally, the first time I came here, invited by Viable City, was 6 years ago, to the day, I believe. It was in December 2019, when we had just started the work on the cities mission. I have to be very honest with you. In December 2019, we did not really know what to do with the cities mission. And at the time, we had launched also the mission board for the cities mission. And I take this opportunity to thank the members of the board, and I know that there are some in the room, past and present, that were participating in the board, and that helped shape the mission as we know it today. And the invitation that we received was from the vice chair of the board, Mr. Alan Larsen, whom you, I'm sure, know very well. And Alan wanted us to understand and to see concretely what was the experience and the activity of viable cities in Sweden. And as a consequence of that visit, we just took on board the concept of the Climate City Contract, which is something that was developed in Sweden, I'm happy to say. Of course, we have changed it a little bit for the cities mission, because we would never do it otherwise. But the core principle of the cities mission as it is comes to a large extent from the experience that was developed in Sweden and that was implemented by viable cities. So that's my congratulations to Sweden and the Swedish cities and the agencies supporting viable cities and viable cities, because without you, I don't think we would have been able to launch the mission in Europe. Let me say a few words about the implementation of the cities mission to start with. We have reached a milestone regarding the implementation of that mission back in October at the occasion of the European Week of the Regions and Cities in Brussels, because we awarded the mission label to a last batch of cities, and we reached the number of 103 cities. 103 cities in Europe that have developed a fully fledged strategy for climate neutrality. So those of you that have been involved in the preparation of those climate city contracts know that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment from the municipalities. And so we have to acknowledge the work that has gone into the preparation of those climate city contracts by those 103 cities coming from all corners of Europe. But we have also reached a milestone in a sense that we are moving away from the planning process of the mission to the implementation phase of the mission. And that's what is becoming critical, because at the end of the day, we don't want to keep the mission as a paper concept, but we want to deploy the solutions that the cities have identified on the ground so that we indeed reach climate neutrality by the horizon of 2030. And that is not straightforward. And to a large extent, the implementation of the mission and those climate city contracts cannot only reside in the support that we provide through a framework program for research innovation. It's about, at the end of the day, deployment of solutions on the ground. And we need to tap into resources that go well beyond what we can provide through a framework program for research innovation. But we need, before unlocking finance and funding, we need to move also in a situation where the projects that have been identified by the cities increase in maturity so that they become bankable. To a large extent, the project that we have in the investment plan today, in the climate city contracts that we have reviewed in the Commission, lack maturity. So there is still a lot of work to be done to increase the maturity of the projects so that they can be bankable and that they can receive funding from public and private sources. There is also a lack of capacity in many cities that are involved in the mission, in a sense that they do not have necessarily the capacity in-house to take advantage of innovative funding solutions or launch innovative procurements, for instance. So there is still this capacity building that needs to be put in place. And then last but not least, of course, funding and financing. We have put in place a number of tools and instruments in the mission, like the Climate City Capital Hub, which provides technical advice and services to increase precisely the maturity of the projects, identifying innovative solutions for funding. The EIB has been a close partner in the implementation of the mission, putting in place a lending facility of 2 billion, sorry. 1 billion has been exhausted already, so there is still another billion left, and very likely, hopefully, next year they will be able to top up that lending window. But that's not enough, because you know that at the end of the day, when you add the investments that are required for each of the cities that are participating in the mission, you have a ballpark figure of 300 billion that you need to find in Europe. I have to say this is not a cost, this is an investment, and that is an investment that pays back, because out of these 300 billion, you get back more than 390 billion out of it, but you still need to put the money up front, and that's a challenge. So what is the contribution of the national network in that context? A network like Viable City, I think, has done an incredible work in Sweden, and as I said, has been the example of what we wanted those national networks to be in the rest of Europe. So I take this opportunity, because I know that they are in the room as well, to thank the colleagues from the Capacities Project for the work that they are doing in all member states to develop these national platforms, mimicking what is being done in Viable Cities. I also take this opportunity to thank the work that was done in Spain, because Spain and Sweden were really front runners when developing these national platforms. And the purpose of those national platforms is not only about exchanging good practices between cities that are involved in this network, but it's also an opportunity for the national authorities to unlock potential regulatory issues, to increase the coordination between the different services and ministries that are involved in supporting the implementation of the mission, and finding investment. So we rely a lot on the national networks, and the effort that we will put in the next few years will certainly be on pushing those national networks as much as we can, so that we can deliver on the objective of the mission. I should mention also something which was touched upon by Olga, which is the international dimension. I don't have to tell you that if Europe is a climate-neutral continent by 2050 and the rest of the world is not, what we do in Europe does not make much sense. So we certainly need to promote what we are doing in terms of good practices, fighting climate change, developing a clean transition in Europe, to our partners globally. And we have put in place a number of instruments and tools for that. I should mention in particular the Urban Transition Mission of Mission Innovation, to which Viable Cities is participating. You mentioned the CHAMP Coalition, which is again an excellent example at global level of what we can do to exchange good practices between countries and cities, to make sure that the lessons that we learn in Europe can be really used and implemented at global scale in the rest of the world. Now, the next steps clearly will be on the implementation of the missions, the Climate City contracts. And Marcos mentioned the agenda for cities. I have to say that we have worked very closely with our colleagues from DG Regio when drafting this agenda for cities. I'm very happy to see that there are quite many explicit references to the cities mission in the agenda. I'm quite happy to see that the systemic approach, the integrated approach that we are promoting in the cities mission, and that you are very well aware of in Sweden, is a model that is promoted in the agenda for cities. That means that we would like to make sure that in the future, the methodological approach that has been used to develop the Climate City contracts for climate change can be replicated to other sectors by cities in Europe. And that means also that this should facilitate access to funding. That means that the cities that go through this process should have a preferential access to funding. Funding will come from different sources. The Framework Program for Research Innovation is one way of getting funding, at least till 2030 for the missions. But that is something that will be restricted very much to what we do presently in the cities mission, namely support to research innovation, support to technical advisory services and so on, piloting new solutions and new ideas. But we need to tap into the programs that will support deployment. And their competitiveness fund is an opportunity. But it's clear that the national, regional and partnership plans will be the opportunity to unlock massive funding for the deployment of the solutions that cities have identified as part of the cities mission in particular. So I'm confident that there will be opportunities, clear, genuine opportunities for cities, not only in the present MFF, but also in the next MFF to roll out those strategies of climate neutrality. I think that's all I wanted to say from my side. Maybe I was a little bit long, but I think I will have also other opportunities later on today to express myself. Thank you very much.
It's not up to me to rate it, but I think you all did very well.
Thank you.
So a final question. Given the new policy landscape, and as our chairman pointed out, the fact that Europe is the continent where climate change is happening fastest, what are the most critical considerations to accelerate the climate transition in European cities? Mr. Rosenperre.
Well, I think that the new agenda that we have on the floor is very much aligned with the EU cities missions. Indeed, the new agenda is trying to empower cities to implement cross-sectoral strategies, combining green infrastructure, clean energy, better housing, sustainable mobility, which indeed are also a big part of the objectives of the cities mission. So I think that it is a very it establishes a very good synergy, the new agenda for cities, with the cities missions. Indeed, Michel has explained it. It's mentioned in the agenda for cities, the cities mission, the utility and the good things that the cities missions are addressing to the cities. But now the thing is how it is going to be influenced and how it is going to be incorporated, the cities mission, into the cities agenda. It's not so clear when you see the framework, it is mentioned, but when you see the future in the last part of the European cities agenda, it's not so clear how are we going to make this perfect combination between the horizon missions that will be developed in the next MFF and the new agenda for cities. So we will have to work in I guess in the parliament now that we have the regulation of NRPPs, competitiveness funds, and also the new framework 10 of the Horizon Europe programs to try to establish synergies, and it will be the best thing to incorporate both activities into the future of the cities.
Mr. Froissart, what would you think are the most critical considerations to accelerate the climate transition in European cities?
Well, I would like to come back to what Marcos was saying. The cities mission was designed as an instrument for addressing and tackling climate mitigation. But we have seen when developing the mission that we did not restrict ourselves really to climate mitigation. We actually introduced the climate adaptation dimension. You are aware that there are two missions dealing with adaptation and mitigation, and to a large extent the climate city contracts that the cities develop integrate that dimension of adaptation, and it goes well beyond, because at the end of the day the issues that have been identified in the policy agenda for cities when it comes to affordability of housing is something that we find in the cities mission. by identifying, for instance, cost-saving solutions for renovation of building, you contribute to the affordable housing plan. When identifying innovative solutions to address, I don't know, for instance, urban mobility or waste management in your city, you contribute to developing expertise in companies that will become more competitive and will contribute to the economy of Europe. When developing a clean urban mobility strategy in your city, you contribute to the sustainable urban and mobility strategy in Europe. So what I think is important is to link the activities that he is implementing as part of the city's mission to all the other new policy priorities. It's not one or the other. It's not a competition, because at the end of the day, we all need and we all contribute in one way or another to this different policy agenda. And I think that's very important, because at the end of the day, down the road, if we go back to these national and regional partnership plans, in an ideal world, there will be a section, there will be a chapter addressing the needs of cities. And incidentally, that chapter will have to be drafted with the support and the contribution of the national and the local authorities. And in that chapter, you will be able to address the different elements, and the funding will come, I would say, naturally. This is the hope that I have, at least. Naturally.
Naturally, it would emerge like out of thin air, perhaps. Ms. Cordas, I mean, we've heard about the making important points of multiple benefits. What do you think are the most critical considerations to accelerate the climate transition in Swedish cities, for example?
I think that I would agree very much about the multiple benefits and also the work that we are doing. And the question is how to integrate and how to coordinate the work that we are doing on climate adaptation and climate mitigation and also preparedness. So we had this year, we had a first conference with very, very many participants, maybe 300 or so from all our cities discussing just this particular question, and it was in Karlstad. And then I was actually amazed still that we had so many practical examples, and not only about integration of climate mitigation and climate adaptation, but also integrating the work on resilience and preparedness. So now the big question would be, how can we create this more integrated portfolio for financing of integrated actions that are kind of integrating or like coordinating preparedness, climate adaptation and mitigation. So it's not only about how do we work, like what are the governance structure, but also what are the funding and financing structure for this coordination.
Thank you so much for joining us on stage. A warm applause for all of them. So it's as we've heard, it's important to find out the right mix of preparing for changes and stopping more damage. And next we'll look at the new and cooperative ways to do both, to help protect people and to move Europe toward being climate friendly and stronger for the future. And to help put this into context, we've invited two distinguished guests, Tommaso Bassetti and Carolina Skog. Please welcome me, joining them on stage here. I'll sit with you here because we had a little flooding issue again there. Let me start with introduction. Tommaso Bassetti is a lead specialist in urban and environmental policy at eCatalyst and has led a working group on integrating mitigation adaptation on behalf of the EU's Mission Implementation Platform for Adaptation, and that is short for MIP4Adapt. Carolina Skog is the member of the EU Cities Mission Board and has previously held various governance roles in Sweden, including serving as a city commissioner in the city of Malmö and as the Swedish Minister of Environment. Mr. Bassetti, let's start with your perspective. What are the key learnings or challenges and emerging opportunities that you've identified from the discussions of aligning efforts on climate mitigation and adaptation?
Thank you. Well, I think there was already a good groundwork that was laid by the previous panel. Just to put this into context, this comes as part of the adaptation mission, which had as one of these specific objectives to have thematic working groups across the cities and adaptation missions. So we had an opportunity to have structured exchanges among cities, among regions, among city networks. And I think what came out really clearly is that these two processes although they are not exactly the same thing, as we all know, they are not completely isolated processes. But actually, there are a lot of synergies that can be established between the two. And the linkages, very importantly, have to be made at different governance levels. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard to get the wins we need, and also across different sectors. In terms of challenges, again, I think it was mentioned before. Traditionally, mitigation and adaptation have been really treated as kind of different boxes, different sectors, and what comes with that is that then the funding, the financing, the stakeholder ecosystems are different. While for the cities it might seem, let's say, normal because they are on the front lines and they have to do it, we have heard and we see how big national funding schemes continue to be just targeting mitigation or adaptation. So there's work to do in better coordinating those efforts. In terms of opportunities, I think the EU missions actually are a great opportunity for cities, and I want to bring an example, and it's the example of Valencia, where the city is part of the city's mission and the region is part of the adaptation missions. So obviously this brought them to think together, okay, how can we have these structural exchanges, not just with the public sector, but also with affiliated partners and institutions. And I think this Valencian collaboration space, that's how it's called, has brought really interesting opportunities and concrete cases about how the two can be combined in a very concrete way. And I think we need more and more examples to show those who haven't identified the synergies to do them.
Ms. Skog, as a member of the EU Cities Mission Board, you also have extensive experience in local, national, and international politics. What opportunities do you see going forward for the impactful climate action at different government levels?
Well, I argue that adaptation and mitigation, to some extent, really are two different animals with different logics. One is more about transition, and the other one is more about risk management. And it is, so, in one way, natural that it will fall out in different governmental structures. But they do have a number of things in common that are really, really important. And the first and most important is a matter of funding. Because doing this massive transition or massive adaptation, we need to use money wisely. And if you want to do the best in climate mitigation investments, happens to be the same as the best adaptation measures. Because the answer to both is using nature wisely. Nature eat our engineers for breakfast. We will not create technology that beats the efficiency of nature in terms of adaptation or mitigation. And then there is a really strong overlap in terms of natural solutions, nature restoration, greening of the city. So that's one part of they have in common. The other part, which is very, very important as well in terms of public engagement, is when they also have in common the possibility of making our cities more livable, nicer to live in, healthier to live in, healthier to prosper. So I think both of them, if we do it right, we will create better cities in the same times that we do manage the transition and manage the risks that comes with the part of climate change that unfortunately will not be stopped.
And you, in sort of 5 years' time, do you see that this will actually become the same issue, although it's just described from two different perspectives? Or?
We're not there. Absolutely not.
No.
So again, I do agree with this, that the missions, having one climate cities mission, one adaptation mission, and those two working together, of course they are working together, can help to foster the dialogue in finding the overlaps. I don't think we should treat them as one subject. We're not looking into full integration.
Why should we not treat it?
Because there is still some different logics, as I started saying.
The logic is different.
The logics are basically different, and they will fall out differently in our governmental structures. So I don't believe in full integration, but finding the overlaps and working smart, specifically when we're looking how to spend money that will be scarce.
And you would agree on that we should keep having a different perspective and understanding the different logic, but just like in Valencia, understanding them from different levels of government, perhaps?
Yeah, I think collaboration is always key. And I mean, we could have the same mission, but we could have different missions. For me, at the end of the day, the most important is that we find the right levers and the right way to collaborate. Of course, the case of Valencia is a unique one. I'm not sure there are many other examples of cities and adaptation missions in the same area, but perhaps that could be an opportunity that could be explored for the future of the missions. At the same time, I think, yeah, still this is sometimes a matter of wording, really, and narrative, because I think mitigation and adaptation has been really like such different sectors that talking about full integration may seem a little bit intimidating, when actually in the end what we need is just to leverage the full benefits of going toward the same direction. It's all about climate change, right? But how can we do the same at the same time? And I think when we talk about examples, and I think we will, then we can really see what this means.
And I think I also like to place it in what's happening in Europe right now. We have two major subjects coming on: is competitiveness, and for me it's very clear that climate transition, specifically the climate transitions made in cities, will be crucial of making Europe rich and competitive. There is no, I think there's a strong belief that there is a contradiction. It is not. If we use climate transition, we can prosper. And the other big subject is, of course, safety, and their adaptation makes a lot of sense. Protecting our waters, protecting our food systems, protecting our technical infrastructure and our housings and our dwellings is a really important part of that work of safety, and that is adaptation. And making them work together, we can really align the work that he's doing within the mission, within the two missions, and making it working for Europe.
Thank you so much for joining and bringing your perspective. A warm applause. As you've noticed, that Viable Cities, the Climate City Contract 2030 is an essential tool for iterating and sharpening climate commitments year by year, and most of all, spurring climate action that really makes a difference, the bridge through that ambition and action gap. 5 years ago, in 2020, history was made when 9 city mayors and director generals of government agencies signed the first Swedish Climate City Contract. And today, Viable Cities works with 48 cities and 6 government agencies to accelerate climate transition. As we heard, it's a Swedish innovation that's been replicated across the EU, with many cities using it to guide their climate commitments, actions and investments. And we are now come to the point where we will sign the latest generation of that contract. We're now witnessing the signing process, so it's time for me to say, welcome to join me on stage, dear mayors and director generals, as well as our program director and chairman of Viable Cities. So, I will now switch to Swedish, because det är mycket enklare för alla. Generaldirektörer och KSO:er plus vår ordförande och programchef ska komma fram här. Och ska ni få sätta er här lite olika rader. Du har en tydlig plats här. Ni andra skulle tänkt på det och bokat plats också. Då sätter vi lite KSO:er här. Några får stå bakom, några står här och ovanpå så här liksom. Bra. Du backar in, perfekt. Så. Ja, det är en stol framför dig. Ta den tycker jag. Det blir toppen. Bra! Det är fantastiskt. Alla ni som inte, alla som håller på så här, ni kanske vill sträcka på er så ni kan resa på er och bara liksom göra en liten sån. Då ska vi sen återvända till detta. The ceremony you just watched is not a celebration of a goal, it's a milestone. We celebrate the effort so far and look forward to how we can raise the ambition step by step and inspire others to move forward with increasing pace and impact. So this is the 5th year the cities are signing the contract, raising their ambitions each time. It's also 5 years until 2030 when the goals are to be reached. And in times of climate pessimism and doom, I think it's vital to highlight the advances in climate action happening, and these 48 cities are leading the way. So when the climate contracts are now signed, what one might ask oneself, what is happening now? How does these signatures translate into ambition, into action of the future? To answer this question, we will turn to the city of Enköping, which sent us this video postcard.
Hej, Peter Bok. Kommunstyrelsens ordförande i Enköping, Sveriges grönaste och närmaste stad. Idag när vi har signerat klimatkontraktet kommer vi ta nästa steg och anta vår klimatstrategi. Efter klimatstrategin då börjar vi vår planering och kommer genomföra för att uppnå våra mål som är satta till 2030.
That, my friends, is in short how ambition turned into action in Enköping. Thank you so much. The mission of climate neutral cities is not just a matter of policy ambition, it's a daily practical commitment involving hundreds of actions and decisions, big and small. And we invite a few cities to the stage to share a concrete example of their ongoing work, reflect steps on what they're doing now, as well as what they're heading next in line with their themes. So expect to hear a few testimonials centered around three key challenges: climate transition, resilience, and financing. What practical actions are they taking today? How are they mobilizing resources and collaborating to accelerate their efforts? And what are the steps in working with integrating climate adaptation and mitigation to create climate neutral and resilient cities and communities? Let's hear directly from the people making the transition on the ground. Please join me in welcoming Anders Almgren, Mayor of City of Lund, Anna-Britt Åkerlind, Mayor of Örnsköldsvik, and Emma Svan Nilsson, Mayor of Karlskrona. Join me here. Där. Och där. Du kan sitta här istället. Du ska bara göra att inte ut om du är så.
Tar vi lite distans då.
Trevligt. Let's start with Lund, one of the 412 forerunner cities in the EU Cities Mission. You're also a true forerunner in addressing the financial aspects of climate transition. You hosted a major event early this year with Viable Cities. So what can you tell us about what we have worked in the city of Lund to integrate the adaptation and mitigation perspective into budgets and investment processes and things like that, and how you also engage local stakeholders?
The main way to do it, I think, is to always to think ahead. For one example, we're building a new city district in Lund. It's on its way with about 40,000 new residents. It will be developed fully in 20 years or so. Then we invested heavily in parks, that kind of green infrastructure, a park the size of 30 football fields. Wow. For be able to do the mitigation work to treat the storm waters. And we've been able to do it due to we have contracts with developers, both housing and residential, to be able to take some of the economical burden to make that investment ahead. So before the houses actually are erected, the park is already in existence, and we have the mitigation in place from day one.
Fantastic. Moving on to Örnsköldsvik. Early this autumn, the city of Örnsköldsvik, as part of the region of Västernorrland, was affected by a storm flood that truly put your resilience to test. And from the experience of Örnsköldsvik, what would you like to share with others about what you learn on climate action and resilience and preparedness in response to the kind of unexpected climate-related events that I guess most of us will see more of, unfortunately?
Yes, unfortunately. And first of all, those heavy rains were extremely local. At some places they measured more than 170 millimeters of rain coming down through a couple of hours. And the Anundsjö River rose more than 4 meters under a bridge at Kubbe. So that is the first lesson. You can't build roads, railways and houses that can manage this amount of water, flooding and pressure. These are forces you can't be prepared for on every place. You simply have to focus on managing the effects. So this autumn in Örnsköldsvik, we learned that resilience is something you must carry with you every day. There is a classic saying, plans worth nothing, but planning is everything. So we cannot predict exactly what kind of crisis will come and where, but we can continuously planning and build the capacity to act quickly when it does. Another key lesson is the importance of being physically present and lead at the front. You cannot handle crisis from second-hand information. You need to see the situation yourself and to understand what people need and how to direct resources effectively. And it is the municipality that is present, the present authority, the actor that people will rely on. And what the society as a whole learned is about resilience as in alternatives. When the railway is flushed away, there is no train coming through. The steel from LKAB doesn't reach the harbor of Gothenburg, and the fish from Norway doesn't reach the dinner tables in Sweden and in Europe. So Sweden need more capacity in terms of railways and roads, and we need alternative for goods and people. And that is a question for more for the nation than for one single municipality. So that's some of our lessons learned.
Interesting. I mean, it's talking about sort of the importance when it's happened from a city and the entire region. Ms. Van Nielsen from Karlskrona, you've been working intensively for collective action. For example, you've been initiated collaboration between three regions, Blekinge, Kalmar, Kronoberg, with the main cities called Krona, Kalmar, Växjö on sort of sustainable urban development. How will you address climate action and resilience in this collaboration?
Yes, the cooperation between the southeast triangle, Karlskrona, Kalmar and Växjö gives us great opportunities to strengthen climate work, and we have common challenges. So therefore we also need to work on the solutions together. If we work together for our goals and our action plans, we can create greater clarity, efficiency and comparability between the regions, and this makes it possible to find measures that work faster.
And to all of you, I mean, we know we need to raise the ambition step by step, and you're all very active in that. What would you say are the most important areas where we need to accelerate our collective learning and shared experience with others? I mean, Viable Cities is one part of doing that, but is there some area where you think that we need to accelerate our collective learning even more?
Of course, you can address different fields of the scope of sustainable development, but I would say more the method to scale up. We talked this morning with the other mayors about the importance of not it's not enough with the prototypes. We need to scale up, and we need to support to scale up. So I would say that is actually the most crucial question to ask yourself. I bet you can find in almost any city a really good sustainable example where it's one school out of 40. It's one road out of 30. It's one building out of 100. But it's to scale up, and I think that is the time is of an essence. It's urgent. We can only do this together, and I would say it's a race for sure, but it's not a competition. It's a difference because it's not a competition between the cities. It's a race that we actually can fight best together, and I think scaling up is the #1 issue.
What would you say was the most important area?
I think a key factor is training and preparing formats for collaboration between the different authorities, the local, the regional and the national. And I think this collaboration needs to be coordinated by the county administrations. In a crisis situation, there is a lot of information that has to move between national and local level. And the national authorities that need to be involved is not a few. So this has to be coordinated so that the municipality can focus on being present and do whatever needs to be done with the necessary support from the other levels. But here's more to do with the collaboration, I think.
She said diplomatically.
Yes, I can say a little bit more forward if you like.
Yeah. What do you need? What do you think? Where do we need to accelerate our collective learning?
I think it's a long time work, and we have to keep on working with circle recycling, garbage disposal, and locally produced food, for example, in our area.
That's the key issues. Thank you so much for sharing and for being a good example to us all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Every year we celebrate people whose actions are making a big contribution to making cities climate neutral and more sustainable. We call them Viable Cities Champions, and it's time to name and celebrate the champions of 2025. Please join me on stage, Marcos Rosenpere and Elena Simon. And to administer this, I'll hand over to Olga Kordas, Program Director and founder of Viable Cities.
So I have a privilege as a program director. Sometimes you have privileges, and one of them is award this prize of Viable Cities Champions to amazing people, brilliant people who are very instrumental for climate transition to be reality. So this year, Viable Cities Champions are Marcos Ros Sempre. So, and then for you, our motivation is for your exceptional leadership in advancing the EU policy agenda for cities and your instrumental role as a member of the European Parliament in fostering support to climate transition in cities that is both ambitious and socially just. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, and then I am enormously pleased to announce the second Viable Cities champion, Elena Simeon. Elena, for your impactful efforts to support the development of national platforms for the EU Cities mission across Europe, not least in your role as a program manager for capacities and M100, the Romanian national platform for the Cities mission. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. There will be lots of time afterwards to celebrate with them in the Swedish fika style. Now it's time for another video postcard, and this time it's from Helsingborg.
Här i Helsingborg tar de stora samhällsproblemen på allvar. Vi möter dem genom faktisk handling, genom investeringar och beslut. Vi är övertygade om att samhällets stora problem går att vända och vi vill vara ledande i det arbetet. Jag heter Christian Orsing och jag är kommunstyrelsens ordförande här i Helsingborg. Helsingborg är en stad byggd av entreprenörskap. Här fordras handel, logistik, livsmedel, tech, life science och civil beredskap som bygger framtidens stad. Helsingborg är också känt för sitt unika läge, nära kontinenten och med havet som granne. Här kombinerar vi utveckling, företagande med livskvalitet. Som en av EUs utsedda 112 smarta och hållbara städer fokuserar vi på att driva hållbar tillväxt där de ekonomiska, sociala och miljömässiga perspektiven går hand i hand. En av våra starka ambitioner är att vara klimatneutrala i det geografiska området redan 2030, vilket kräver både modiga beslut och ett starkt näringsliv. Tillsammans med akademin och näringslivet genomför vi förändring på riktigt. Vi kan inte göra allt själva, utan vi behöver samarbeta med alla. Alla parter, både lokalt, nationellt och internationellt. Varmt välkomna till Helsingborg.
We have now heard from many levels of governance, cities and international guests on how we can accelerate the transition going forward. Yet none of this will be possible without the vital support and collaboration of our national government agencies, our dear national government agencies as we call them. In this panel we will now turn to these agencies themselves. What are they going to do to support cities in the climate transition? How are they going to work across sectors, taking into account the different roles with cities and viable cities in the process of city climate contracting? So we will try to do that and dive a little bit deeper in this panel. And so let's start by hearing from the leaders, the Director Generals guiding this essential work. So please join me on stage. Caroline Astrup, Director General, the Swedish Energy Agency. Darja Isaksson, Director General, Vinnova, Sweden's Innovation Agency. Emma Getzer, Director General, Formas, a Government Research Council for Sustainable Development. Johan Kylenstierna, Director General, Formas, a Government Research Council for the Swedish Environmental Protection Agency.
Exactly.
It used to be elsewhere, confusing. Anna Johansson, Head of the Department of Simplification at the Swedish Agency for Economic and Regional Growth, and Sven Hunhammar, Head of National Targets for Environment and Health, the Swedish Transport Administration. This is the lovely deep green state. It looks like this. So welcome to you all. I wanted to share a few key points here. Ms. Astrup, the Energy Agency is a key stakeholder within the mission for climate neutral cities and collaborate with several other government agencies to accelerate the local transition and support society's adaptation to climate change. So, could you share concrete examples for how your joint work could be further strengthened to raising ambition going forward?
Thank you. Today we celebrate commitment and collaboration, and we act in times of multiple crises, energy security, climate change, and economic uncertainty. And acting faster together is not an option, it's a necessity and a key to resilience and innovation and competitiveness. I want to share 3 concrete examples of how our joint work is making a difference and how we can build on this momentum together. The first one is system demonstrators. We have launched large-scale system demonstrators in Stockholm and in Lund together with Vinnova. And these projects, they integrate mobility and energy solutions and include continuous system analysis with research expertise. And this ensures learning not only about technology, but also governance and citizen engagement in line with our shared commitments in Climate City Contract. And the next step is to continue supporting these demonstrators and share lessons across all the participating cities. The second example is coordinated financing. Our agencies already provide significant support for climate neutral cities, and by aligning our existing programs and coordinating calls, we have made it easier for the municipalities and local actors to access funding. And this joint approach reduces complexity and accelerates implementation. And we will keep strengthening this coordination forward. And my last concrete example is about competence and knowledge sharing. Climate transition requires new skills across sectors. We have established learning platforms such as Viable Cities Transition Lab to learn and to share knowledge and experiences between cities and to avoid endless piloting. Going forward, we will learn how to scale up and to expand these platforms and connect them to international networks, and ensuring that Swedish cities can remain at the forefront of innovation. So if we want to raise ambition, we must continue to build on what works, joint programs, coordinated financing, and shared learning. And this is how we can act faster, together, and going from local to global.
Thank you so much. And if you haven't joined any of our Transition Lab Forum, you should do it, because it's a lovely 3 days. All the cities get together and we exchange lots of ideas, and you learn from others, and you also have a little bit of beer. Ms. Isaksson, Vinnova, the Swedish National Innovation Agency, is the coordinating actor for Sweden's participation in Horizon Europe, which is the world's largest research innovation program. What are the most important actions that you at Vinnova, together with the other agencies and stakeholders, can take to enable implementation and scaling?
I mean, I think Caroline, first of all, said it very well already, and this Viable Cities is one example of how we work together. And I just first want to say congratulations, Viable Cities, and all the cities who are engaging in this. It's so great to see. Also hearing about the long-term commitment, and the commitment from us as funders is equally long-term, and we are eager to take the next step. So I'm thinking, like you mentioned, on the national piece, we will continue to support through working on becoming even more coordinated, having the funding in place, sharing the examples, etc., and sharing our expertise. I mean, we have other government agencies here who might not be part of this funding, but we are definitely working even closer together. So that's one part. But right now, one of the things that are really very important is what we heard before, like going from this, where the research and innovation funding is the main mechanism, mechanism to the implementation phase where we need to drive on other mechanisms, both at the national level, but also in the upcoming new framework program. So I think for me right now, that is the focus. Like, how can we make it even stronger in the next phase? And I'm eager to discuss that because I'm noticing on the competitiveness fund how Vinnova we are supportive of a strong connection between the ECF and Pillar 2. There's a lot of reason for that. On the industry side, I notice how there are new alliances being built, strong ones to really be able to coordinate and set a strong shared agenda. So let's see how we can, build a momentum and finding the ways forward also in the city's mission, because it's very much a shared interest, and also having this demand mechanism. And the third thing I would say, and that has also been said in some of the panels today that resonates very well, is in a time where preparedness, resilience becomes even more urgent, and where we have pledged as one of many NATO countries to spend 1.5% of our GDP on civil preparedness, we must ensure that these massive investments are money well spent. And in order to that, I think the key in terms of multiple outcomes and being really good at that, which we heard before, will want to be one of the most important skills we can have. So also concretizing how we actually go about that will also be a very important thing for us to be in dialogue with, learning from each other, and kind of build into our way of working forward.
Thank you so much. Applause for that. Fun fact, when you said we need to find areas of collaboration, I was in my feed here. Fika is now prepared, so there will be opportunities for that as well. Ms. Gretzky, Formas is part of a number of international networks initiatives relating to climate action, and you've been working closely with the national stakeholders in Sweden and beyond. And at the same time, you support sort of the local climate action in multiple ways. So from your perspective, how can multi-stakeholder collaboration be further strengthened to accelerate local climate transition journeys and align then governance across local, national and global levels?
First, thanks Per, and thanks Viable Cities for this really great event. And yes, multi-stakeholder collaboration is a necessary part of climate transition, of course. And yes, climate transition is one of the greatest challenges in our time. And as we all know, there is no single actor who can handle great challenges by themselves. It forces collaboration, broad, inclusive, and across borders. And multi-stakeholders stakeholders collaboration is not just important, it is critical for success. And at Formas, we work with this in many ways. One way is demanding multi-stakeholder collaboration in our initiatives. And one example of that is the Impact Innovation Program, Shift Sweden. Another way we do as an organization is that we work together with others, both nationally and internationally. Therefore, Formas is a partner in 8 of EU's partnership programs. It's programs about water and seas, food, forestry, biodiversity. And of course, we are a partner in the Driving Urban Transition program. And Sweden has a strong urban research and innovation ecosystem, in many ways thanks to our focus on multi-stakeholder collaboration. And a really good example on this is that Sweden is the country in Driving Urban Transition, the Driving Transitions Partnership, with the highest number of cities in granted projects. It's 22 cities represented in Driving Urban Transitions, and many of you are here today. We also have the highest number of projects coordinators, the highest number of project partners, and we are involved in the largest number of projects overall. So it's a really great job done by all of us in Sweden in that program. And this demonstrates the strength of our ecosystem and the value of collaboration. So looking ahead, it will be exciting to follow the EU agenda for cities and see how we further can improve the multi-stakeholder collaboration.
Heja Sverige, heja Formas! Ms. Johansson at the Agency for Economic of Regional Growth, you're tasked with strengthening regional development and supporting development of territorial strategies. So going forward, what opportunities do you see to strengthen collaboration and align the various funding streams from different governance levels to enable more impact climate action in cities?
Well, to succeed in the climate transition, we need structures where municipalities, region, national agencies and the EU work together. By aligning funding streams, we can avoid fragmentation and instead amplify each other's efforts. The territorial strategy, Thriving Northern Cities, demonstrate how cities in cooperation on a regional level can complement local and national efforts and create a platform for joint development. Together with other government agencies, municipalities and regions, we have developed a guide to facilitate the use of European and national funding sources. The guide is a practical resource for municipalities to navigate EU and national funding opportunities. It enables the combination of different funding sources and accelerate climate action. And this is crucial for creating portfolios of initiatives rather than isolated projects. The Co-Action Lund project illustrates how co-funding works in practice. By combining EU funds via us at the Swedish Agency for Economic and Regional Growth with national funding from the Swedish Energy Agency and Vinnova, Lund has created an ambitious climate project that strengthens the city's transition toward climate neutrality. This model of combination of funds can and should be replicated by others to create greater impact and more efficient use of our resources. Thank you.
Mr. Kuylenstierna, within the Environmental Protection Agency, climate adaptation and mitigation are key and closely connected to the imperative of protecting biodiversity and restoring nature. But if we look broadly, in your view, what kind of financial logic or actions should be strengthened in society if we need to go forward to accelerate this transition and connect these efforts?
Thank you very much, Per. And I also want to say thank you to all the municipalities who are here. I mean, you are the key guys in getting this really moving ahead. As government agencies, we can support it. But as some of you said already, you are really meeting the realities in your respective municipalities. I think there is a macro level, first of all, to be honest. And Daria, you touched upon it as well, that we need to really shift all capital. We talk about climate finance, but that's only sort of small streams of capital, to be honest. We have to really move all capital in the direction of long-term, resilient and low-emission investments. And this means also, of course, investments in climate adaptations. We have to strengthen price signals or change price signals. We have to have regulatory frameworks in place. We have to make climate-aligned investments really the focus, and not just something that is an add-on. And I think this is absolutely critical from a macro level. We try at the Swedish GPA to really look into all the different tools that we have, how we can align all our investments and all our tools into, for instance, investments in climate mitigation and adaptation. Second, I think, and this is key, not least for us, of course, is that public finance has to be used more strategically to really unlock private finance as well. And I'm really pleased, actually, to announce that the government has decided, hopefully in a few weeks, that they will strengthen the climate step, Klimatklivet, with 1.5 billion next year. So it takes us to 4.5 billion kroner, which is invested into climate mitigation, really focused, but also I think also climate adaptation can be part of that. This is absolutely essential because that also mobilizes other capital, and that sort of interaction between public and private capital is absolutely key if we really want to go up to scale. It's back to the point that you made also, Daria. We have to look at where all these different flows can actually come together in different ways. The third thing, though, is that we need to also integrate climate risk into all financial decisions. this has been discussed for quite some time. We see a little bit of going back on that also. You mentioned it before also, Anders, in your introduction. So, for instance, mandatory disclosure of climate-related risks and opportunities should really be part of all economic planning, and being a natural part also of the planning of municipalities, but also, of course, of companies. And I think this is essential for reducing losses and increase preparedness at the local and, of course, also national and global level. The fourth point I would like to make is that financial models must better support local implementation. And this is where we quite often have a barrier between the national and the local level. Municipalities and local communities often carry the responsibility of not least adaptation. This is absolutely, that has been in focus a lot. But lack access to predictable funding and really long-term funding. This we haven't solved yet, to be honest. There has been quite a lot of debate in Sweden, not least recently, about this challenge. We see an increasing cost at the local level, but it's difficult to really mobilize national funding to really address these challenges. So really, in short, accelerating climate action requires aligning the entire financial system, not talk about climate finance, but really the entire financial system. With climate objectives, reducing risks for sustainable investments, and ensuring the resources reach the local level where implementation happens. So this is really what I see. Many have said it already. We need to get to scale, and then we have to really see where the different financial flows are and make sure that they are all aligned and moving in the right direction, getting out of financial silos that we have. We talk about policy silos, but we have also a lot of financial silos. And I can admit this is also a problem for us as a government agency, not least.
Thank you so much. Mr. Hunhammar, mobility and transport stand for a major share of carbon emission of Sweden's total energy consumption. A third is from fossil fuels these days. What opportunities do you see going forward to accelerate the climate transition through multi-level government in mobility and transport?
I think, as many have said, collaboration is the key to move forward. And I give you a very concrete example, because I think we actually do things on the ground, contrary to my agency colleagues here.
Friendly bantering, come on, yes.
Public procurement is one of the sharpest tools in our toolbox, and many of you municipalities as well. And for us, next step is, I think I mentioned this last year, is electrified machinery and heavy vehicles on the roads. Heavy trucks, because we have, as you know, personal cars is already there almost, so it's small trucks but not big trucks. So we are actually procuring for close to 100 billion, 10 billion euros a year, 100 billion Swedish krona a year, and we've put climate requirements on these for almost 10 years in 2016. So what we've decided this year is to give a bonus for 5 years by 250 per kilowatt hour electricity used for machinery. So this will be an added benefit for companies investing in this machinery. With a low diesel price, maybe 250 is not enough, but it's a step forward. And talking about system demos, we've actually decided to have 9 system demos on a reasonable scales, smaller roads and so forth. And the collaboration is that we put these system demos where cities have decided to do the same. So that's a benefit or incentive for the local machinery owners to buy these equipment, because they are more expensive and it's a huge investment for often very small entrepreneurs. So that's things happening on the ground.
Things are indeed happening on the ground. Thank you all for sharing. As they say, never underestimate what a small group of committed large government agencies can do for you. I should also point to talking about the system demo. Thanks to the funding of multiple of these agencies, the system demo we are doing in collaboration in Lund have created a new global standard of energy sharing, building to building, something we can share energy as easy as you can share data. And that is truly something that you will hear from in the future. And that is also just something that pops up and we do things. It's amazing. And a lot of it is thanks to the backing of these agencies through funds, but also collection and the warm hearts. And now we're going to hand back to our hosts for some final remarks, and this time we will hear from Erik von Pistolkors of the European Commission representation in Sweden, and Olga Kordas, the Program Director of Viable Cities.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. Lovely to be here. I'm replacing Annika, who had to go for a meeting with the Prime Minister. First of all, Olga, I mean, hats off to you for pulling off another fantastic event. I mean, I have to say, 1.5 hours of very packed information, which sort of gave me the impression of incredible dynamism, positive energy from everybody. And I think you told me when the photo was taken here of everybody, I think you, the mayors, represented 50% of Sweden's population. That is pretty amazing, I have to say. So thank you for that, first of all. But it's difficult to sum up, but I have a few takeaways. First of all, just to remind everybody, and the flags here, the flags there. Last year I was going on about the flags and the fact that you in the municipalities have to hoist it, not only on the 9th of May. This year, with 30 years of EU membership for Sweden coming to an end soon, I think it's very important to keep that in mind, and I think it reflects very positively on you today here. That we are, after 30 years, really taking our membership of the EU seriously, much more seriously than before, and it's high time. Second message, and again, to try and sort of address this strictly directly to the mayors and the representatives of the various municipalities. You heard a lot about, there are a lot of acronyms flying around here earlier. I think, just to be very clear, first of all, the MFF, this is the long-term budget that's being negotiated soon. This is a very important process in the whole EU membership calendar, if you like. And I think here you really have to take with you that when you come back to your towns, that you engage with your government, with the Swedish government, ahead of this budget. My colleague from the Commission mentioned something which I think everybody likes to hear, that there will be massive funding coming. I think it's not obviously not only just for Sweden, but I think there is an opportunity here to capitalize on this and to take your share your part. I mean, it was very clear from the little films that we saw that there's a lot of fantastic ideas out there that are being implemented. Also, looking at the films, I think one thing which I noticed, which I wouldn't have seen a few years ago, is the focus on civil preparedness, robustness, etc., for the reasons that we're all very painfully aware of. And I think here again, Sweden and your municipalities have a lot to offer the rest of the EU. Just a final word about myself and our office. We stand ready, of course, with Viable Cities and Olga's team, we worked very closely, but we're also the conduit. Basically, our mission is to help the EU understand Sweden and to help Sweden understand the EU, to put it very briefly. So we will continue with that work, and I really want you to remember that and take that with you as well as we move forward towards the next years. And again, back to this budget business. Very, very complicated, very bureaucratic, but very, very important. So that will be my main takeaways. But again, thank you very much for a fantastic afternoon. 1.5 hours of intense, and Per, obviously, as a moderator, contributed to this dynamism, but it was very, very interesting. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erik. So I would like to start of saying how much I am proud for our 48 amazing cities who are here, who are showing the leadership in climate transition, the mayors who are also having a lot of courage, both to formulate those high ambitions, but also kind of pushing for implementation. Also for our amazing process leaders and the civil servants and these municipalities who are working a lot on making things happen in the ground. I'm also amazingly proud of our national agencies. Sometimes you could say, yes, but national agencies have tasks to collaborate and to push for their questions. But I could really tell to you that there are so many member states, some of them are here, that are very, very envious on us, saying that kind of your agency really have a driving force to work together, to collaborate, even though they have some different tasks, but they are doing their best to support cities. And we've heard today that the ambition is that, like, to continue this work together. I also need to say that I am very inspired by Ukrainian cities. You know, I'm Ukrainian, I always saying that. So there are 12 Ukrainian cities connected to EU Cities mission during the ongoing war. And this is also showing that when cities are planning and kind of rebuilding for the future, and also when cities are rebuilt already now under the ongoing war, that the climate transition, those solutions that are good for climate adaptation, climate mitigation, they are also very important for the resilience and for building better Ukraine for the future. So I'm thinking about learning between cities, so peer-to-peer learning. I have a huge hope for those joint commitments that we cities and we and the national agencies signed today, so that the power of many would kind of accelerate the transition even further. I also want to say that we have a lot of inspiration from other European cities and also national platforms, and amazing platforms from Spain and from Romania who are here. So it's a lot of learning that is going on the cities level, but also on the national level. And for me, European Union is not only the union of nations, it's also the union of cities, it's a union of shared ambition, and it's a union of action for thriving future. And this is why I'm so happy that we have a representative of European Commission and European Parliament, Philip and Marcos. Thank you very much for being here. And then this event could not be possible without representation of European Commission in Sweden. So it's amazing collaboration that we have with you, Eric. And I want to warn you that the next time we meet here is the 4th of December of 2006, that we sign Climate City Contract for the 6th time, and we celebrate our progress and our steps towards climate neutral future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to thank the European Commission for co-organizing this with us today, a yearly tradition we appreciate almost as much as Christmas. To follow what all the 48 cities within Viable Cities are doing, please follow us on LinkedIn or read more at viablecities.se. Thank you from us here in Stockholm. Thank you for watching from Sweden with love.